Hey everybody, it's Manat. Today I'm going to show you the monk class coming in Mists of Pandaria, and our monk is going to be played by the fearless Panda Korika, who evidently really enjoys dancing. Fun science fact, pandas are bears again. Pandas used to be bears, and then they were raccoons for a little bit. Now they're bears again. Science is weird. Anyway, monks are two resource characters. They have energy. You'll see up on the bar here. Pretty much exactly like a rogue. They'll have attacks, usually like standard attacks that use energy, and those attacks generally will create chi. It doesn't have the tooltip up there. It has it in the bottom corner. Chi is used to fuel other attacks or abilities. Some of them have special effects. Sometimes it's just more damage. Also, in addition to monking, I'm going to show you the redesigned talent tree system and spellbook system. So we're going to look at those right now. Specialization and talents down here, spellbook right here, exactly where they used to be. Spellbook looks a little different. You'll notice that. I'll show you that here in a second. This is what the talent tree window looks like now. Now, instead of picking your talents to determine what your spec is, you pick your spec. And that has absolutely no impact on your talent. Well, some impact on your talents. On a few talents. Overall, not much impact. So the monk can be 3 different specs, like all of the characters. Actually, except for druid. Druid can be 4 specs now. They separated the feral spec into feral and guardian, so now cat and bear are separate. Anyway, not important for right now. So Brewmaster is their tank, Mistweaver is their healer, Windwalker is their melee DPS. In this window, they're going to show you the key abilities, and all classes have this same window with the same layout. So it'll show you their key abilities, some of the cool stuff they can do. So the tank, this cool ability, basically gives him a shield that prevents damage, and while you self-heal, that increases by 30%. Dizzying Haze does some speed debuff on the enemies, and also a neat little trick, gives them a 3% chance to damage themselves instead of you if they're doing a melee attack, which in essence is damage mitigation in the long run. Very useful for tanks. Here we have Breath of Fire that actually synergizes with Dizzying Haze. Causes just a cone of fire damage. If you played Warcraft 3, you might have used the Pandaran Brewmaster. They could basically chug a big keg of beer and turn it into flame breath. It's very cool. But it'll do more damage. It'll do it damage over time if they have Dizzying Haze on them. Basically, if they're covered in alcohol. Not so useful in real life. You don't want to cover people in alcohol and set them on fire. Pretty sure that's a felony. So we got Mistweaver is their healer. Their big thing. You got this Renewing Mist. This is very cool. It's a lot like, the name escapes me right now. It's that pre-spell. Put it on a target. Next time that person takes damage, it heals them and jumps around. What this one does, it jumps around, but it does so over time instead of when taking hits. Uplift is an ability that uses chi. What it does is everyone with Renewing Mist on them is healed for a certain amount right now. At level 85 it's 7,123. The way that works is Renewing Mist can eventually be on everybody in your party or raid given enough time because it jumps around. Has an 8-second cooldown, but it lasts for 19.24 seconds. That's probably based on your haste rating. Some of the other key abilities. Soothing Mist, this is a channeled heal. Heals the target for 25,000 over 7.3 seconds. Also apparently affected by haste. And every time that ticks, has a 25% chance to generate a chi. and Surging Mist. What this does is while you're channeling Soothing Mist, you can hit Surging Mist to kind of double up on that heal. Not double up, but piggyback, I guess. It makes Surging Mist instant cast. The other big thing about Mistweaver is that it changes from being an energy-based class to mana, like a normal healer. So they actually also change from an agility-based class to intellect spirit. Windwalker is the melee DPS. It's a lot like kind of what the base monk is when you start playing. Their key abilities are kind of the default abilities. Jab and Tiger Palm you get. Jab you get at level 1, Tiger Palm you get at level 2, level 3, something like that. Yeah, see, this one creates chi, this one uses it, and it also gives you a damage bonus by removing their armor. That's just extra damage you get for using your chi. You probably want to use Tiger Palm whenever you can, and then once you're at maximum stacks, you just blackout kick him in the face. And Fist of Fury is a kind of a bigger ability, 25-second cooldown to do a cone of damage. Okay, and with your classes, especially if you haven't played in a while, they're going to have you bring up this window. You will pick one of these. Let's go ahead and pick Mistweaver for the main one. I always like playing healers. You have mana down there. And then we will swap. Do Brewmaster, because that is... tank is a little more interesting to me. So, we've looked at the talent window. Let's look at the ability window now. Yeah, I know. The ability window now, instead of having all of your abilities spread out among what kind of spec they're based in, you know, whether or not you are that spec, now each page is dedicated to one of the chosen specs and will list all of the abilities you get by picking that spec. So, for instance, Path of Blossoms, it's kind of a weird sort of version of the Druid's Exploding Mushrooms. That appears in the Brewmaster spec, but it also appears in the Mistweaver and probably Windwalker as well. Yes. So that's an ability that appears in all three of them. So no matter what spec you are, you know you get that. This is also really good for, you know, comparing specs. You can see exactly what abilities you're going to get for all of your specs. The other big thing is monks use stances. Generally you have this Stance of Fierce Tiger. That's the default monk stance that just does additional damage. And then the Brewmaster and Mistweaver. I'm going to keep looking at that because I keep wanting to call him Mistwalker, even though it's Windwalker, Mistweaver. Windwalker, Mistweaver. Alright. Anyway, Brewmaster has Stance of the Sturdy Ox, reduces damage taken. Basically, it turns him into a tank. Reduces his damage, reduces the critical hit chance, increases stamina. Stagger damage. This is interesting. You shrug off physical attacks, causing 80% of the damage to happen instantly and the remaining 20% to be divided over 10 seconds. This is pretty interesting. I am a huge fan of this, and I think part of me thinks that gives tank monks just a huge mitigation advantage, because the biggest problem of any encounter, especially when they redesigned for Cataclysm, was the damage spikes you were taking, especially when you were first starting at 85, trying to do those level 85 dungeons. A little bit more of a challenge than people were used to in World of Warcraft. Not insurmountable, not too hard, but definitely more of a challenge. And the damage spikes were the big cause of that, because healing kind of dropped off. Healing wasn't as powerful as it used to be. But this is just incredible. It takes a lot of pressure off healers. It allows healers like druids who specialize in healing over time, it just gives them a really significant cushion in the tank himself to help the healer do his job better. And that's I normally play healers, so I'm actually very excited about this. I would really enjoy grouping with a monk tank to try it out. The beta client, not so great for grouping, I found. It's everybody's just kind of looking at stuff. I haven't really found anyone who's really trying to play. But anyway, yeah, that's the passive you're going to have up with the monk. The passive for the Mistweaver, and also you'll notice when we looked at the abilities, this is the talent tree, I'll show you that here in a minute. We looked at the abilities, they all require a lot, well not all, a lot require the stance. Like this you can only use an Ox stance. It's a lot like how the Warrior worked, where you could only use some things in Berserker stance or some things in Battle stance, which they actually did away with, interestingly, and apparently moved it to the monk. So, Stance of the Wise Serpent increases your healing and replaces your energy with mana, like I said. Grants hit and expertise equal to 50% of your spirit. This is a lot like some of the hybrid classes, like the Elemental Shaman or Balanced Druid, where spirit is a stat that also gives you hit, so that way you don't have to gear for hit. You can just gear for spirit, and that's good enough. And your attack power is equal to 200% of your spell power. They also want you being sort of a melee damager. In that way, it kind of reminds me of Discipline Priests, who are healers by way of spell damage. And that's what the second half of this ability does, or this stance. Whenever you do damage, it heals a target nearby, when it's non-auto attack. But you don't really care about auto attacks that much anymore. The Windwalker, see I just did it again. The Windwalker does not get a special stance. Fierce Tiger is the default Windwalker stance. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all these abilities, mostly because it's a lot of abilities to go over, and also, you know, some of these are appearing in all of the different trees. Last thing I'll show you today is sort of how the talent page looks now. Instead of having trees, like, you know, you pick this tree and then you pick this talent, which leads to this talent, which leads to that, which leads to that. Now what they do is at every 15 levels you pick one of three, and basically they are completely unrelated. I can pick this one and this one and this one and that one and that one. Doesn't matter. So we're going to look at a couple of them. You can roll and Chi Torpedo. It's that right there. It replaces roll. It's a cool little ability. Monks have a little mobile ability. You can do that more often. This one takes immobilizing and movement impairing effects away from the target and increases their speed. Increasing movement speed is actually very cool, I found. I've been playing a lot of my Discipline Priest, and I have the talent on him that his shield gives the target only a 4-second speed buff, but putting that on a tank is actually kind of cool. And this one is your move speed increases when you roll or Chi Torpedo. So the first tier is a lot of mobility. Sometimes you'll see that. You'll see a tier kind of having a theme. So we're going to go ahead and let's do that, because we're in our Brewmaster right now. Yeah, being able to do that to yourself is actually very cool when you're a tank, being able to remove those impairing abilities. Alright, and this is what your talent tree, or I guess talent page, is going to look like. You're going to have these, you know, mixed and matched in the themed tiers. You know, we have our healing and damage tier, we have our chi tier, we have our crowd control tier, we have our defensive tier, and we have our just crazy making things happen tier. The level 90 tier is, you know, I can make a tiger, things like that. And all characters don't really have an equal level of, you know, quality of their talent selections. Personally, I think that, you know, Shaman talent selection is quite fantastic, almost too good. There's a lot of times where there's a lot of good decisions, so you just got to pick one and stick with it, or don't. And say, for example, Druids, I don't think have that interesting of decisions, especially for Resto, which is what I play. So anyway, yeah, those are a lot of the big changes coming to you in Mist of Pandaria. If you want to talk about those, comment on them. That's what the comment section is for. Anyway, thanks for watching. Check out sidequesting.com for more coverage on Mist of Pandaria and most games out there right now. We do a lot of stuff. Alright guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.